Welcome back to Tizen Tidbits. In the following video, we will have an intro to wearable sensors, and then we will modify a project to detect the user's heart rate.
Okay, so we have like around half an hour. What I'm going to do is to explain really quick sensors, and then we're going to kind of like jump into one sample that I told you that I had to do with the heart rate. So we're going to start with sensors. So you have something that is called the sensor API. And with that one, you're going to be able to manage the sensors. You're going to be able to receive notifications from those sensors. And you're going to also be able to obtain hardware information from those sensors. So there are some that have some limits, like, okay, what is the lowest heart rate that you can detect, or what is the fastest heart rate that you can detect? That I think it's like over 200. I think you can try to get it like faster than that or something like that, like a little bit manually. But hey, man, if you're getting like a heart rate over 200, like quite likely you're in trouble. So kind of like calm down. So quite likely don't pay attention to your app, or you're having a heart attack. I don't know. So we're going to do something, two things, and that's relatively simple. First thing is we're going to try to get information about the sensors. And then second, something that we haven't done, but we have been displaying all this time, is that we have the console. So just like in other JavaScript development, you can use the console to show messages just for debugging, right? So we don't need to kind of like put it on the application. We don't need to display it here, but we can get a lot of information here. So what we're going to do here is first to create a variable. And this time I actually am going to name it something sensible, that is sensors. And I am going to say that this is going to get the Tizen sensor service. And in this one, I'm going to get you have several options, but in this particular case, we're going to go for the get available sensors. Okay, that's it. So now in this variable, we're going to have a list of the names of the sensors that we can use. And this is going to be interesting a little bit later because we're not going to see all of them, but we're going to go there. Now, before I go a little bit further, for another chat thing, just copy paste it. I'm not going to check if you guys do it. I'm just going to pause there for a second. If I want to write a message in the console in JavaScript, how do I do it? So if you have the answer, put it there on the chat. The first person that gets the right answer, like I see some sort of message. It doesn't show me the chat. Control H. Here. Okay, got it. Yeah, perfect. Console log. Exactly. That's exactly what I was going for. And since you already gave it to me, I'm going to copy paste it because I'm not going to type twice. I'm not really want to miss opportunities. So in this case, what I'm going to say is simple, like a message of whatever I want. It doesn't have to be anything important. Available sensors. So here, and then I'm going to add the sensors that we have here. But obviously, we have to kind of like turn this into a toString in here, just to make certain. So the big difference that we're going to have with this is that it's going to run this, and we're going to have a message here in the console that you see in Tizen Studio. Here at the bottom. Sometimes, depending on the setup that you have on your Tizen Studio, it could appear on the side, but you can drag it here. So in this case, we're going to see it here. So blah. So it's going to run. All these messages that we see here at first are deploying the application on our emulator, but at some point we're going to get this one. And of course, it's on the line 18 of our apps.js that is available sensors. And we can see that is showing us acceleration, gravity, linear acceleration, magnetic, I've never done anything with that one. That would be kind of a cool project. The gyroscope, that's the one that pretty much I was telling you about. It would be better just to try it on an actual device. That's going to be a little bit harder to test on emulator. Light, this one really surprised me. I did the first time that I saw it. I was like, oh, that's cool. Proximity pressure, ultraviolet, gyroscope rotation vector. So there are a lot of things there that you can do. Now, the one that you may not see, but we do have, is heart rate. And you saw it when I was telling you about the emulator control panel, that we have it here. So why is it not showing that? Well, pretty much it's because it's part of what is called the human activity monitor. You're going to see that I'm looking at that screen because I always messed up the name. I know that it's something different and it says human something. So what is the human activity monitor? Pretty much it has to do with collecting information, collecting data from human activities. So it could be like of your body or things that we are doing, but using the sensors that we already have in the device. So obviously, we're going to get access to them, but depending on the device that you're using, you may not get them. So for example, I really would like to challenge you to get the heart rate if you are using something with Tizen on a TV. I would try to figure out how that TV has a heart rate monitor. Quite likely doesn't. So there are, like, depending on the application that you are creating, you have to be aware of the sensors that are available on your device. And that's why something like this, like the code that we added, is important, because then you can check if your sensor, the sensor that you want, is there. The other thing that we're going to see, and I'm going to create an error on purpose, is that the human activity monitor, because it's collecting information about you, about the user, and nowadays there is so much importance, so much relevance to privacy and to, well, everything that humans are doing, we cannot just ask for things nilly-willy. We have to ask for permission. So that's something that I'm going to start working on the heart sensor, and then we're going to get an error. This is kind of like the last big part of code that we're going to do. And after that, I'm just going to show you some samples and templates that we have there. But then let's get this here. So first thing that I'm going to do is to, well, create something that is going to be called heart, a variable that we're going to do that. And what I really want to get here is just to get an element to put that. So I'm going to, again, be lazy and use one of the elements of the list. So I'm going to say that this one is going to be heart. I'm going to use the third element, just to display the heartbeat right there. So I'm going to put it here. And this one, I'm going to do my beloved. I think I had another one. Yeah, that one over there. And I'm just going to say that not main, that heart. So now we have access to that element in our index.html. Now, I'm going to start kind of like in reverse. The first thing that you should do when you have a sensor is to start the sensor. So that's kind of like the first thing that you do with a sensor that is part of the human activity monitor or any other sensor. So even if it's gravity, you always have to start it. So you don't have to start collecting information, collecting data as soon as your application starts. You can do it later. So you could have one of these like radio buttons or something like, do you want to check your heart? And then you say yes, and then that's when you do it. So what I'm going to do here is to say Tizen dot human activity monitor, that's the one, dot start. So you see that there are several things, and also stop. Start. I'm going to leave it like that so it doesn't give me that. And then here you're going to tell the monitor, what is it that you want to start. So you have some acronyms that in this case is human heart rate monitor, HRM. So that's what we're going for. And then you're going to call a function that we haven't created just to execute that function. That's going to be the callback when the heart rate changes. So in this case, obviously, I'm going to say on changed heart rate, HR. That's what we can do. So I'm going to copy this, and then here, how you really want to do it is to create a function. I'm going to name it, no, not a function. There, correct. I'm going to name it that. Correct. Now, the thing that I'm going to receive some heart rate monitor info. So that's going to be heart rate monitor info. Well, you can name it whatever, but that's the best way. And then we can print on the console the heart rate monitor. But since we already have an ID, an element on the index that we can display it, that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to say heart dot inner HTML. It's going to be R equals to heart rate monitor, like the information here, dot heart rate. So heart rate. Okay, so that's it. So let's wake up our emulator over here. Then let's deploy the application. And let's see how this goes. And we got an error, which is what I told you that was going to happen. But fortunately, this one is quite clear. Permission denied. So what is it that happened? Was like anyone care? Like, was anyone paying attention? Because I kind of like told you already what is it that happened, and I even gave you a good reason for that. And perhaps with that we can get what is the answer. So anyone can put it. I'm going to give you like a minute so you can or talk or put it on the chat. So I'm going to stop there. And well, Control H. No. Chat. It's Alt H. Alt H. I was going to forget that. Go on. Let's not show again. Okay, well, I'm stop. Okay, need permission from users. Yes. So please. Oh, I'm sorry. Like you need to ask for permission. Yes. What we need to make this thing work is to ask for permission. So well, I'm going to open a little bit more. This is a part of the project that we haven't pretty much not touched at all. So just let me make certain that I'm opening the right one. So when you create a project here, it creates also a config.xml. Here, you're going to have a lot of things. There is the overview of your application, so your name, your icon. So this is obviously great to change if you're going to deploy this on the Galaxy Store. Then you're also going to have feature privileges, localization, preferences. All that is going to create an XML file that you're going to see at the end. You can modify this manually. I would recommend not to do it if you don't know what you're doing. Because you can make a lot of mistakes, and also all these other tabs are in place just to allow you to add the features and privileges that you want. So if you guys remember, what it's telling me here is that permission denied. That means that we are not asking for the right privileges. So that's why I went here to add them. So you click, and since it's a long list, we're just going to type for the ones that we need. The first one is going to be health info. So we're going to, okay. Then the other one is for location, which, to be honest, I never understood exactly why for heart rate you need both, but I know that you need both. And then you can save. And with that in mind, then we should be able to deploy again our application. And then we should be able to see the heart rate displayed on the third item of our unordered list if everything went correctly. So I'm going to lower it a little bit. So right now it's saying 127. Hey, but it could be a hard-coded, oh, no, that's not it. Could be a hard-coded number. So how do we know if that's working correctly, and how do we know if it's changing? Well, that's when the control panel for the emulator works. In this particular case, we need to change the heart rate. And here is where you can change the beats per minute. So, and you can see now that I'm changing that, and it's changing the display there on directly. Obviously, a number is not the coolest thing. It would be better to have like a little heartbeat or something like that. And we're going to check just that. So this is kind of like the last part that I wanted to show you, just to be able to show, well, for once that we could do it and that it is relatively easy. It was just a few lines and knowing the right things for that. Second, if you can, again, well, here in the code, if you really remember what kind of things do you need to start displaying immediately, one of the sensors, at least the heartbeat in particular, you need this amount of lines. That is really 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm not counting the brackets there. So 4 lines, and you immediately can start getting information, and just remembering that you need to ask for permission. Every single sensor may need different permissions, but that's the kind of thing that you can see in the documentation. It tells you that you do need these permissions.
Thank you for watching the video. Don't forget to give your feedback and let us know what kind of other topics you would like us to cover.